What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 19 of the Downtown Browntown podcast. I'm your host, Downtown Brown. Today, we've got lots to discuss. Bucks picking up a huge win in Philadelphia last night, 109-105 in overtime, as well as two trades. Bucks acquiring PJ Tucker from the Houston Rockets and trading off Torrey Craig to the Phoenix Suns. So we're going to get into the trades first because we're going to go chronologically here. That's what happened right as the game was tipping off or shortly before. The Bucks are acquiring PJ Tucker and Rodions Kurucs from the Houston Rockets in exchange for DJ Augustine, DJ Wilson, and some draft capital switches here. I'm going to get over that in a second. Kind of funny here, two DJs for a PJ. Uh, don't see that quite often. So let's get into the draft capital switch here. So the Bucks are shipping their 2023 first round pick to the Houston Rockets. In return, they're getting a 2022 first round pick from the Houston Rockets, which is actually our pick. We traded it a couple years ago and it's bounced around from team to team, and now we're getting it back. So those are two things there. And then this coming draft in 2021, we are giving Houston our first round pick, but we are getting their second round pick. So Houston has lost 18 games in a row. They're going to be the worst team record wise in the league. So the difference between their second round pick and our first round pick is probably going to be somewhere 3 to 5 slots. So really not much of a change there. And it also comes into play from a salary perspective. First round picks make more money, whereas second round picks do not. So that actually works out for the Bucks pretty well. They're going to get a player that is going to have a lower salary, 3 years, um, and it's just going to help us out from being able to acquire players next year. So home run trade for the Bucks. I mean, PJ Tucker is going to fit into this team really well, I believe. He is known for his 3-point shooting, specifically corner threes. He's made the most corner threes in the league in the last 5 years by a wide margin, actually. ESPN had a cool graphic up right as the game was starting yesterday when we found out the news that the Bucks have acquired PJ Tucker. And he's also known for his tenacious defense, tenacious D, as I must say. Shout out to Jack Black there. So, yeah, I mean, he's just a dog out there. I mean, he is really, really strong, about 6'6". He played center for the Houston Rockets last year after they traded Clint Capella to the Hawks, and acquired Robert Covington in a different trade, because PJ Tucker is just so versatile on defense. He can switch really 1 through 5. Very, very strong guy. I mean, you look at him, he's just really stocky, and he's just a dog out there. I mean, he's all about playing defense, and I'm really excited that he's on this team because he's just going to be a very, very important player for the Bucks, especially what they're trying to do in terms of their new switching philosophy on defense. PJ Tucker is probably going to close games for us. I mean, just for his defense alone. I mean, if he can hit corner threes like he has the last couple of years, this year he has shot pretty bad from three, about 31%, and 80% of his threes in the corner were wide open threes, and he only made 33% of them. That's not great. You know, when you think of good 3-point shooting percentages, you want to be around 40%. So it's not great. He's had a down year, averaging 4 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, and assists per game. But, you know, sometimes guys just need a change of scenery, and I think that's really going to help PJ Tucker out in this situation. Uh, the Rockets stink. I mean, they're so bad. Obviously, they had the whole James Harden thing going on early in the year. He didn't want to be there. They end up trading him away. And then uh, the Rockets have just been an absolute disaster ever since then. And PJ Tucker could have just been mailing it in a little bit, just not caring and knowing that he was going to get traded eventually. So I'm not saying that that's something like that's for sure happening, but you kind of read through the tea leaves a little bit. Really hope that PJ Tucker coming to a contender like the Milwaukee Bucks, that it's just going to give him energy playing with Giannis, Drew, Chris. I mean, he's going to have a lot of energy coming into that locker room, and I think he's going to play much better for this team. So, I mean, what a great trade for the Bucks, grabbing PJ Tucker. I mean, like I said, I think he's going to end up closing games looking at a lineup of like Drew, Dante, Middleton, PJ Tucker, and Giannis. And that's a great small ball lineup against a team like the Brooklyn Nets, who is going to play a lot of small ball with KD at the 5, maybe even throwing Blake Griffin there at the 4. Or, obviously it's going to be KD, Harden, Kyrie. Maybe they throw out Bruce Brown and Joe Harris, playing really small. Bruce Brown, kind of a similar player like a PJ Tucker, a little smaller though. So, I mean, I'm shocked that this happened. I mean, I knew that the Bucks were really interested in PJ Tucker, and there were other contending teams, the Lakers, the Nets, that were also interested in him. And I think, or at least I thought, that teams were gonna like be looking to give up more to get him, just because he was a very sought after asset. And really, the Bucks didn't really give up anything. I mean, getting off the DJ Augustine contract is huge for this team. Obviously, that did not work out for them. I thought he was playing a lot better as of late, but I'm glad that he's gone. I hate to say it, but I mean, just from the fact of getting off of that contract, he signed a 3-year, $21 million contract, $7 million average per year. It's a lot for a guy like a DJ Augustine on a cap strap team like the Bucks, for a guy who extremely underperformed this season. So, I mean, just the fact alone that we got off of that contract is a win for the Bucks in this trade. It's going to give them more flexibility this season to sign guys via the buyout market. It's going to give them more flexibility next season to be able to retain key free agents like Bobby Portis, PJ Tucker now, who will be eligible for a 2-year, $17 million extension next season with the Bucks. I have no idea what's going to happen there. We got to see how it turns out with PJ Tucker. But those are key guys that you'd like to bring back. Bryn Forbes as well on a minimum deal. Those are 3 guys that are going to be important for this Bucks team coming down the stretch. And we all have seen that Bobby Portis and Bryn Forbes have played fairly well this season. So those are guys you'd like to stick around. So getting off that DJ Augustine contract really going to help us next season as well as this year. So, I mean, I can't wait to see him out there. I'm really curious to see how we use PJ Tucker. I don't think he's going to start first. I still think it's going to be the starting 5. I think PJ Tucker will be one of the first guys off the bench, but with Bobby Portis and Pat Connaughton. But I'm just curious to see how they use him and what kind of lineups they throw out there with PJ Tucker. I mean, he could play center, as we saw. He's not going to play center on this team, but he can play every position in terms of guarding guys on defense. And he's going to be lethal in that corner, hitting those threes. I really hope that his percentage gets back to normal a little bit. Again, he's shooting 31% from 3, not just corners, from threes in general this season. But last year, 36%. 2 years before that, 37%. I mean, he's a capable 3-point shooter, and that only makes this trade even better for the Bucks. Obviously DJ Wilson gone in that trade as well. I'm just happy for the guy. It never worked out for him in Milwaukee. He had that nice run in 2019 where he was getting minutes and playing pretty well, actually. But it just seemed like Bud never gave him that fair opportunity besides that season. And he always fizzled out in the beginning of the year, never saw minutes. First round pick, 17th overall. Big disappointment for the Bucks there. Just glad to see him go. I hope he gets minutes on Houston. Like I said, they stink. So I think he has an opportunity to get some minutes down there in Houston. But just glad to see him go and hopefully rejuvenate his career somewhere else. And I'll touch on Rodions Kurucs a little bit, coming from Houston as well. So this trade has not officially happened yet. They have not officially announced that it went through, basically. So I think something else could be in the works, possibly with the Bucks trying to flip Kurucs to another team, maybe with another 2nd-round pick to acquire a backup point guard, because obviously by trading DJ Augustine, we don't have a backup point guard on this roster. There was a report a couple days or a week ago that we signed Myles Powell to a G League contract, but for some reason that ended up falling through, and he was a point guard, so he's not on this team anymore. They ended up getting Axel Toupane Tupane, I think it is. And he's a G League guy. So we don't have a backup point guard on this roster, and that's a clear need for this Bucks team. You got to have at least 2 point guards on an NBA team. So I'm wondering if the Bucks are trying to do some maneuvering here by flipping Kurus, who's making about 1.8 million this season, along with maybe that second round pick they got from the Rockets, and trying to get a backup point guard somewhere because obviously we need one. If we don't get one, if we don't end up trading Kurus and this trade goes through as is, then we're going to be looking for a backup point guard until we get one here, and we're going to be looking for one right away. So I'm curious to see what happens there. Let's say Kurus does come to the Bucks. I don't expect him to get any minutes whatsoever. Kind of like a stretch four guy who can shoot the three, but he does have a domestic violence case standing out there. So not a guy I'm really going to root for anyways. So I kind of hope he ends up leaving this team. Maybe, like I said, flipped in a 3-team deal here, but we'll see what happens there. But all I know is I'm freaking excited to see PJ Tucker out there for the Bucks. Hopefully Saturday. I'm not quite sure. The Bucks play the Spurs at Fiserv Forum Saturday night. That is their next game, getting 2 days of rest here. I'm not sure with COVID and all that stuff going on, like how the transition process is when a guy gets traded, like how many days it takes him for him to be eligible to play for his new team. PJ Tucker has been sitting out the last few games because kind of a new trend in the NBA is that when guys are going to end up getting traded at some point or eventually bought out, like a Blake Griffin, teams just end up not playing the guy just so he doesn't get hurt and just because a trade is imminent. So PJ Tucker has been sitting out for a little bit now. So hopefully he's well rested and ready to go. And man, I can't wait to see him out on this team. I mean, he's got a lot of playoff experience last few years in Houston. He was on Toronto a few years back. I think he was on the team where we lost to Toronto 4-2 in that first round series. So I think he was on that team. But yeah, PJ Tucker, a lot of playoff experience, tenacious D, can hit the corner three. I mean, that's what we're getting here, and I think fans are really gonna like this guy. I mean, he's just all about playing just absolutely lockdown defense. I saw a video out on Twitter with him in a USA basketball practice, and he's just out there talking all the time, getting in people's faces, just all about the defensive side of the ball. And for the Bucks and a team that is got a lot of versatile players who can play a lot of different lineups and has a really great small ball lineup now with PJ Tucker out there. I mean, absolute home run trade for the Bucks. Kudos to Jon Horst. He's been very aggressive as the Bucks GM the last few seasons here, making a trade. Obviously, the Nikola Mirotic trade did not work out for us. Signing Marvin Williams in the buyout market last year, and then now trading for PJ Tucker. I mean, he's traded for Jrue Holiday. He traded for Eric Bledsoe. I mean, Jon Horst is not afraid to get aggressive, and I love it. Having a guy like Giannis, we got to be all in trying to win championships. So what a great trade by the Bucks, being able to pick up PJ Tucker and not really giving up anything that's going to hamstring this roster. We'll see what happens with the backup point guard position here. I've been campaigning for Austin Rivers for the last month or so. I'm not sure if we'd be able to trade for him. I think if we flipped Kurus in a second round pick, though, that would probably work. He's making about $3 million per season. So I'm not sure if that trade would be successful, but I think there's a way we could pull it off. My ideal just situation in general would be not to trade for someone and to sign a guy that's just out there. Jeremy Lin is an example. He played really well in the G League bubble, and he's got a lot of NBA experience. I don't think he excels in really anything at this point in his career, but I think he's just a steady player who can give you about 10 to 20 minutes a game and is just going to be solid. Nothing too crazy. And I don't think we want this big playmaking kind of guy that like Isaiah Thomas has been getting rumored that the Bucks are interested in him. I really hope we don't sign him. He's like 5'9", 5'10", shorter than DJ Augustine, an extreme liability on defense. And yeah, he can score points. I mean, he's a two-time All-Star in Boston, averaging close to 30 points a game, had a magical run in those few years in Boston. He can light it up. And for the Wizards in 2019, he played pretty well for them, having a pretty banged up hip. But I just don't want another defensive liability, another DJ Augustine 2.0. Like, yeah, he is a lot more versatile on offense, can create his own shot, good in the pick and roll. DJ Augustine was not that player, but man, I just don't want another guy like that. And a lot of Bucks fans seem to be interested in Isaiah Thomas, and I'm not one of those guys. So we'll see what happens there. It's going to be an important roster spot for the Bucks to fill. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there. So now let's touch on the other trade that the Bucks made, just flipping trades left and right here yesterday in a big game last night. The Bucks trade Torrey Craig to the Phoenix Suns for cash considerations. That's it. No draft picks, no players, nothing. Good for Torrey Craig. He gets to go to a contending team on the Suns. Just clearly never worked out for the Bucks. I loved the signing at the time. I thought he was going to be an integral part of this team because he's versatile on defense and can hit threes, like low 30%. Not great, but he can still at least knock them down. He's not a Thanasis out there who's just incompetent from three. So yeah, good for Torrey Craig getting out of Milwaukee, getting a new chance with the Suns. I think they're going to use him. We freed up a roster spot. When PJ Tucker comes in, clearly Torrey Craig is not playing at all when we acquire PJ Tucker. I mean, our bench rotation is going to be PJ Tucker, Connaughton, Bobby Portis, and Bryn Forbes. Sorry for the pause there. I think those are going to be the guys getting minutes. I think the Thanasty experience is coming to an end with PJ Tucker coming in. I love Thanasis, love his energy, and so he can be used in spurts when we're really lacking that energy. But I think PJ Tucker can easily provide that energy and is so much more of an elite defender and can hit shots when Thanasis can't. So Thanasis will still be on this team, but I think his time has come to an end in terms of getting any sort of minutes. So thank you, Thanasis. The Nasty was born this season. It was a fun ride, but I think that's coming to an end. Obviously, I could be wrong, but that's just what I'm thinking. So yeah, Torrey Craig gone. So now the Bucks have 2 open roster spots after both of these trades. They had 1 roster spot open prior to both these trades. So getting 2 players, flipping 3. Now they've got 2 roster spots open. And from a salary cap perspective, before they were about 441,000 below the hard cap. So they were really hamstring from a cap perspective. They weren't able to sign a guy until like early April because the prorated amount, like when you're signing guys midway through the season like this, it has to be at a vet minimum, I believe. So we weren't able to sign a guy until like April 5th, and we would have missed out on all the key guys most likely on the buyout market. So this really puts the Bucks in good position to pick up 1 or 2 players here. Obviously, one being a backup point guard. We'll see if they fill out that 15th roster spot. But now they're $3.5 million below the hard cap, and that's great. I was really hoping the Bucks would flip DJ Wilson just for that sake to get a little bit more money so they could be in the buyout market. So just an absolute home run signing again by slam dunk signing, I should say. Talking basketball here by John Horst, and I cannot wait to see PJ Tucker out there. And cheers to DJ Augustine, DJ Wilson, and Torrey Craig. I hope you guys have great success in Houston and Phoenix. So now let's talk about that game last night. Again, 109-105. Giannis, 32 points, 15 boards, 5 assists. Dante, 20 points, 8 boards, 5 assists. And Jrue Holiday, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Man, was that an ugly game in the first half. Even in the beginning of the third, I was getting so frustrated. None of our shots were falling. We had a couple possessions where the ball was just rolling around that rim and just didn't want to go in whatsoever. And it was just so difficult to watch. I mean, gosh, we were down 14 at half. I think it was 45-31. I mean, 31 points in the first half for the Bucks. That's a normal quarter for them. So it was just extremely tough to watch. One of those nights that the shots weren't falling, but luckily Philly wasn't playing that great on offense either. I thought the Bucks D was playing pretty well. Got broken down at times, but I think, we clamped down on them pretty well. So, only being down 14 in the beginning of the third did not start good either. We ended up getting down 19, them hitting a couple shots early in the third. Bucks continuing to have shooting woes and couldn't get anything to fall. And then, we just got hot. We just stuck with it, and shots were starting to fall. Plays were being made, getting steals. The Bucks had a lot of steals last night. I mean, it's crazy to me that we shot 40% from the field and 23% from three, and we beat the Philadelphia 76ers. I know they didn't have Joel Embiid, and I know that Seth Curry rolled his ankle towards the end of regulation there, but still, beating the number one team in the East by shooting 40% from the field, 23% from three is just that does not happen very often. So huge for the Bucks to get a win, to gain a game on Philly on the road on national TV. I mean, just you saw that the MVP, the back-to-back MVP that Giannis is, he played absolutely outstanding in that second half. Only 4 points in the first half, ended up with 32 in the game. Obviously, it went to overtime there, but he was just dominating, getting to his spots in the paint. Hit that clutch three in overtime, hitting a couple jumpers in the paint. I mean, man, he was just so good. And when he's on like that, it's just really hard to beat this team. And I'm going to give some big props here to my boy, Pat Connaughton. Huge game for him. 6 points, 12 rebounds, 34 minutes off the bench. Him and Dante were really clamping down on D in that third and fourth quarters. I mean, Pat is he's been fantastic this year. I think a lot of people have ripped on him, especially early when his shots were really not falling, but his shots have been a lot better. I think he's shooting right around 36, 37% from three. And he's just been great for us this season, in my opinion. He's so active on the rebounds. He's an athletic defender who can switch 1 through 3. And he just makes a lot of good plays. He doesn't turn the ball over very much. He has more he's got more blocks than turnovers this season, and significantly more steals than turnovers. The broadcast pointed that one out. I mean, that for a guy having a positive differential like that from steals and blocks to turnovers is just huge for a guy coming off the bench. And I'm loving what Pat Connaughton is bringing to this team. I mean, we all saw so getting down to the end of the game here when Dante oversold on that pass to freaking Korkmaz, and he hits that three to tie it up in the game. I can't stand that guy. He's just driving me nuts, that Furkan Korkmaz. I don't know what's about him, but he's kind of morphing into that Bucks killer role a little bit, hitting that clutch three. And obviously Dante oversold on that pass a little bit, and they end up pulling Dante early on in overtime. And who comes in? Pat Connaughton. And just he had a great impact on that game. I mean, I've been hugely impressed with him. I'm a big Pat supporter, and I just want to give shout outs to him because he played a great game, and the Bucks would not have won that game without Pat Connaughton playing as well as he did last night. So obviously, the Bucks are clawing here in the third quarter and ended up tying it, taking the lead in the fourth, and it looks like we're gonna pull away 7-point lead, I think, with 40 seconds left, and then bam, 2 threes by the Sixers. And then Jrue Holiday hits, or it was Chris Middleton or Jrue Holiday, sorry, that hit those 2 free throws at the end of regulation. And then what do you know, Korkmaz hitting that three. I mean, that was just gut wrenching. I mean, I thought Bucks, the Suns went on not the Suns, sorry, the 76ers went on a 9-2 run to close that game to tie it up. That was tough. And I didn't know what to feel like going in overtime, but the Bucks really had control that whole overtime, and really Giannis was the main player there, and Jrue Holiday as well, hitting that huge corner three. Giannis hitting that three to go up 5 points. I mean, he was just dominating, and just what a huge win for the Bucks. They're pretty depleted on the bench too. 3 guys, really only one that gets minutes in DJ Augustine, but still 3 guys on the bench were traded before the game, so they were not available to play in that game. Bucks had no backup point guard, and wow, did they just rally after just a really, really tough first half and really beginning of the third quarter. Just an absolutely awesome game by the Bucks. Super fun to watch. I mean, that felt like a playoff game to me. It was funny seeing Giannis and Dwight go at it a little bit. I think it was all in fun for the most part, but don't think the Sixers were too happy about Giannis sitting on the court. When we were clinching that game there in overtime. I love it. I can't stand the Sixers. Not a big Embiid fan, not a big Simmons fan. They just drive me nuts. They play really, really tough against the Bucks. They match up well against the Bucks too. Simmons, he can hold his own against Giannis, but clearly he couldn't stop him. I mean, the first half, yeah, he did a good job, but Giannis just absolutely smoked him in the second half. I don't care what you say. He just dominated with 28 points in the second half and overtime there. And the Sixers, they're a tough team. We have not seen a playoff matchup with them. Honestly, I'd love it. I'd hate it at the same time, but I'd love it because, gosh, would that be a battle? We all saw Eric Bledsoe 2 years ago when the Bucks clinched the number one seed in the 2018-2019 season when he threw the ball at Joel Embiid early on in that game and got ejected when the Bucks had those yellow Mecca jerseys on and Giannis just went absolute beast mode and we end up winning that game. We've had some battles with them. They absolutely smoked us in the 2021 Christmas Day game in Philadelphia. And we've had some back and forth battles. We played them, I think it was in 2019 on St. Patrick's Day, and we lost that a close one where Giannis had 50 points in that game. I mean, it's just been some big battles. And obviously, again, Joel Embiid was out last night. Who knows what he would have done? But, the Sixers got a good team. Dwight Howard has made a great impact on them. Seth Curry is great. Really good pickup for them. And Danny Green is pretty solid as well. I mean, I don't think he's that good anymore, but he can still hit threes. He obviously hit one of those key threes at the end of the fourth quarter to end up eventually tying that game with the Furkan Korkmaz 3-pointer in the corner. Gosh, just having nightmares thinking about that. But still, what an absolutely amazing win by the Bucks last night. Getting a huge win against Philadelphia. We're going to match up with them twice coming up in April, both games at Fiserv Forum. I'll be going to one of those. Cannot wait. I think that's April 24th. The one that I'm going to, I think they play them the 22nd and the 24th in that 2-game little matinee series. That's really going to feel like a playoff atmosphere. Going to be huge for the Bucks. Trying to gear up for the playoffs and cannot wait to see PJ Tucker out there again. I'm really excited and what a huge win for the Bucks last night. So just it feels great in the Bucks fandom right now. I hope we can keep this up 4-0 after the All-Star break. Now we're 1.5 games back from both Brooklyn and Philly for the number one seed there. So we're gaining a little bit of ground. Got to keep winning. Again, the Bucks play the San Antonio Spurs Saturday night. We'll see if PJ Tucker suits up for him. If not, look for him to play Monday night against the Indiana Pacers at home. And then we've got 2 games against Boston next week as well. I'll be going they're Wednesday and Friday. I will be going to the Friday game. Cannot wait to get back into Fiserv Forum. And again, I just want to thank you guys for watching. That's all I've got for you today. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. That would mean a lot to me. That way you can stay up to date on all my future content as it is posted. And follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well. For Instagram, I'm at downtown_Brown33. And on Twitter, I'm at downtown_Brown. Got some things coming up here in the Downtown Browntown podcast world. I'm hoping to get my podcast on Spotify sooner than later here. As you can probably notice that the video quality is not looking as good as it was before because I switched back to my webcam with my laptop because I think it's just a better setup in terms of audio. I'm now using my Xbox headset, so hopefully the audio sounds a lot better for everyone. And that way, recording it on Zoom like I am, I'll be able to have the audio and the video feed, so that'll lead me to being able to get on Spotify. I was not able to do that before when I was just recording on my phone. So sacrificing a little audio or video quality for some better audio. So I hope that you guys enjoy that. And I'm going to be appearing on a different podcast coming up here in about a month. There'll be more details on that. And yeah, that's about it. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this one and can't wait to see PJ Tucker on the Bucks. So thanks again and go Bucks.